stories. Please don't kill me. I have a lot to live for. I have a wife and kids.
So this story was submitted by Angel Guardian 101. If you would like to submit a story and would like me to read it, then send your stories to coffinbrood666@gmail.com. I'm an 18-year-old female and a chubby fan of anime, mind you. So imagine me when I was 15. I was in an emo phase, supposedly just wore everything black since school at the time was terrible. Friends left me, family issues, and my boyfriend and I broke up on Valentine's Day. Okay, I gave a bit of information. You can tell how my self-esteem must have been. When I was free from school, I would always ask my parents to take me to this certain bookshop. I loved it because, you know, in manga and coffee, I was a fan. Sorry, I'm getting off track. I was in the manga section looking for a good book to read and buy and then get a non-manga book. I was at the time 4'5", 5'4" now, and still am, and I was trying to reach for a certain book but couldn't reach it. I almost fell until I felt arms wrap around me while hearing a voice. "Hey, are you okay?" I turned to see this cute guy, brown hair and hazel eyes. I'll admit he was cute, but being shy and all, I just nodded and smiled, responding a thank you. As the guys got the book for me, we'll call him Ted. Now Ted looked at me up and down and offered his hand, commenting, "You look kinda cute. I'm surprised a girl like you doesn't have a boyfriend." I was shocked and again flustered, since I just wanted to be nice, so I took his hand, and from then on, that would be the day where I will regret even talking to him. Ted and I talked for a while in the library, but of course my parents were there, especially my father, and he did not like him. He would tell me that he just had this weird vibe about him too. Later on, he would be correct. "Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Ted. It's wonderful to meet the people who raised such an adorable marshmallow." I looked at him all confused. My mom was a bit weirded out, but thought nothing of it, since I was chubby. My dad would just stare at him in a sort of glaring way, as my dad secretly pushed me behind him. "We are very sorry, Ted, but I and my family are busy. Excuse us," my father said authoritatively, and took us away from him. But I couldn't help but look back to see Ted glaring at my father. But when he saw me looking, he just smiled and winked at me. I got chills from that and prefer not to look at him anymore. My mom and dad would be beside me because my dad just told my mom a secret that he didn't trust that kid. But of course my parents had to leave me there for a bit because they were going to buy us some hot chocolate and that I should stay close by their eyesight. I did just that, but forgot and roamed around acting like a child until I was at the kids section because there was this book I was curious about. Guess who I see? Yep, Ted waiting for me. I ignored him, but he called out my name, and I stopped frozen. How the hell did this boy know my name? Until I remembered my parents calling out for me a few times, but mind you, it's a Spanish name, so it'd be kinda hard to spell if you only spoke English and didn't know Spanish. That's what it sounded with this guy. "What do you want?" I asked, a bit annoyed and kinda creeped out. He stopped while tilting his head and smiling. "I just want to talk to you, and to be friends, you know. Pretty girl like you shouldn't be alone, especially in a bookshop." This guy had the balls to say this in public, but sadly not much people were there, as they were in the cashier area and the kids in the far back. I don't need friends. I'm fine on my own. So Ted, please leave me the fuck alone. I cursed out as he just let out a girly giggle as he hugged me tightly and squeezed my ass. I was disgusted and tried to push him off and tried to scream, but he covered my mouth. Now, little girls like you should know how to be quiet in the library. You should be punished. Pretty girls like you can bark, but don't bite. He whispered creepily as he took us to a secluded area, and I tried again kicking and all, but nothing worked. I've heard a lot of horror stories from that if people felt the adrenaline kicked in, that's what happened before he could touch me or molest me. I saw an open and kicked him in the balls. To add to it, I slammed a book on his head and began running. I ran and ran, crying as people stopped, asking me what had happened. I tried to explain as I pointed to the area where Ted might still be in, as a cashier took me to my parents. When my parents saw me, they hugged me tight and scolded me, but not before I told them what had happened. They were furious. My dad stomped off to where I told the customers and workers where Ted was, and thankfully cops were called. They found him hiding in the girls' bathroom, which doesn't help the case. I was questioned by the cops, and I gave them my statement. The workers felt bad for me. They let me keep the books free of charge, and they gave me a big cookie with hot chocolate. I'll admit, it was a great day, except for Ted. I don't know what happened to Ted, but all I know is the last time people heard of him, he was last seen taken by the cops in Los Angeles. So Ted, fuck you, and I hope you got what you deserved. My friend Mike is generally a good person, but he is a neckbeard, a gay neckbeard. Yes, the stereotype of the fadacious, fashion-obsessed gay man is, in fact, just a stereotype. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being gay, but neckbeards are still neckbeards. What frustrates me about Mike is that he is almost 40 years old, but is only attracted to young men. He weighs over 350 pounds, is lazy, smells, has graying hair, has bad teeth, bad skin, and lives paycheck to paycheck. He complains about being lonely and depressed, but seemingly has no interest in dating within his own age and tier. He has brief hookups on Grindr, then laments that none of them want to start a long-term relationship. In his 20s, Mike also had a history of having sex with straight men and relationships with women. This happened quite a lot, so it's funny to me to think how many straight butch men in the world have had gay sex secretly, but have never told anyone. Then Mike would be upset later that the guy wouldn't leave his girlfriend for him. A few years back, when Mike was in his 30s, he had a neighbor named Harry. Harry was just 1 year underage, but Mike befriended him and says that it was Harry who made the first move and expressed interest in having a relationship. Mike at least waited until Harry's birthday to begin sexual activity. Harry's dad didn't like Mike being around his son. Mike thinks it's because the dad's an asshole, or maybe it's because he thought it was strange that this creepy 30-year-old enjoyed being around his younger son and was obviously attracted to him. Oh wait, no, it's because Dad is homophobic and Harry, wanting to be with Mike, got Harry kicked out of his house, putting the young man in a very precarious position. They eventually broke up after Harry made a false claim of rape against Mike to the police, or at least I think it was false. Since Mike is my friend, I've chosen to believe him when he says that he didn't do anything. The claim did not go anywhere, and Mike says Harry apologized for lying a couple of years later. I can't think of any motivation that Harry would have to make a false rape claim unless his father put him up to it, or Harry decided he wasn't gay anymore, or wasn't sure he was. I don't know what happened to Harry, or if he's still gay. I tried to explain to Mike that regardless of what happened, what he did was maybe kind of sorta grooming, Mike obviously doesn't see it that way and thinks he was helping Harry by being there for him to talk about Harry's gay feelings, since Harry lived in a homophobic household. Because Mike's my friend, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Ever since then, Mike says that he has always been sure to check if a guy is of his age before starting anything with them. But it creeps me out that that even has to be a question. One of the guys he hooks up with on Grindr lives with his mom, and when he goes over there for sex, they have to do it quietly. Like, what kind of grown adult has to do that? Mike and I still are great friends, but his personal life choices continue to annoy me as he continues pinning for young men way out of his league, and then whines about being alone. I'm not gay at all, so I don't know what it's like in the community. Is Mike's situation normal? My instincts say that it's not. I mean, this would be creepy if we were talking about a heterosexual neckbeard, right? One night in November of 2017, when I was 22 years old, my mom and I went grocery shopping. While standing in the bakery section, my mom and I ran into my aunt, and the three of us stood there and chit-chatted for a while. I had been feeling generally uneasy around this time because I had recently been watching a lot of YouTube videos about true crime and creepy encounters. I was having trouble sleeping and had been getting scared when I was home alone and heard the tiniest noises. Due to this uneasiness or paranoia, I guess, I was very alert and on edge at the bakery at my grocery store. I stood there with my back to the bagels and kept an eye on everyone walking around past us as my mom and aunt shared stories. Nobody seemed suspicious until I caught the eye of a prematurely balding man. He looked like your average mid-30s brooding neckbeard nice guy. I remember thinking to myself, God, he's kinda creepy looking, isn't he? As he walked through the produce section into the bakery, but then I started to feel bad. Chill out, you're being way too judgmental, I told myself, going so far as to even smile at him out of sheer guilt. He's probably staring at you because you're staring at him. He's just glancing on his way by. He's going to forget about you the second he takes his eyes off of you, right? Wrong. I completely forgot about this experience for a few blissfully ignorant months. Then in January, I received a messenger request from an old friend I'd like to touch with. My long-lost friend was the first of many to reach out, saying that there was a lot of buzz on Facebook about a local sex offender who had been taking pictures of young women with hair he deemed pretty, some in their 20s, like me, some well below the age of 18, and posting them on a picture-sharing site. I don't know exactly how, but his online albums stocked with, and I am not exaggerating, thousands of these pictures had been found, and a bunch of screenshots were being plastered all over Facebook to raise awareness. My old friend saw a few pictures of me standing against the bagels, flanked by my mother and my aunt, my long hair hanging down, and my post-French braid waves. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw the screenshots. I told my family about what I just found out, and my brother immediately called the police to report it. As he was talking to an officer, I received more screenshots, this time of the creep's sex offender registry page. It was the man from the grocery store, the man I was initially unnerved by, the man I felt guilty about, the man I smiled at. When my brother got off the phone with the police, he told us that they had been flooded with reports all night. While sympathetic, the policeman my brother spoke to said there was nothing they could do, as the creep was legally within his rights to take those pictures. of us out in public. The man was allegedly assaulted outside of a convenience store the night his pictures were discovered. Before he even realized it, he had been exposed, and he has since been arrested for possession of child pornography in an unrelated case. My brother had actually been aware of this guy long before, as he was apparently infamous on the net for being a sketchy white dude who was obsessed with Asian women, had a hair fetish, and oh yeah, was a convicted sex offender. So as they say, creepy photographer, let's not meet again. Last year I would pick up my sister from school since she didn't have a car and I wasn't going to college. She was 17, I was 19. Now my sister was your typical neckbeard bait. She's fairly attractive, long blonde hair, green eyes, and a great personality. She's a joy to be around and seems to like everyone and everything. She's watched quite a bit of anime and reads a lot of manga. Her friend group was normal, filled with people who fit her interest and personality. I've talked to quite a few of her friends, one of them being my own. They're all chill, really good people, which makes it so weird that the neckbeard was a part of it. Neckbeard wasn't the stereotypical neckbeard in terms of look. He was actually very attractive. He was lean, never smelled like BO, and wasn't greasy. He did, however, have a bit of a neckbeard growing, so by looks, you wouldn't expect it. He liked anime and all of that, but his personality was just god-awful. He was constantly putting others down, subtly, but it was still there. He was a major creep. It was freaky scary how good he was at manipulation, and making it seem like he wasn't degrading his and Elle's friends, as well as Elle, even if he was. Once I met him, I disliked him. I have a lot of experience with people like him, so I knew pretty quickly what type of guy he was. I voiced these concerns to Elle, but she brushed them off, believing there was good in everyone. The first time I met him was when I went to pick up my sister from an after-school club. I forget which one, but Neckbeard was in it too. She asked me to give him a ride home as well, so I decided that since he was her boyfriend, it wouldn't be that bad. Oh ho ho, how wrong I was. Right off the bat, he had noticed my shirt.
Is that a Green Day shirt? I love them.
Oh really? They were one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, I'd totally love to have a night with the singer, you know, alone. Come to think of it, you kinda look like him. What's your name?
Me, starting to become very uncomfortable. I'm Gerald.
I just love that name. It rolls off of the tongue nicely.
I started to get very uncomfortable now. Elle didn't seem to notice, so I didn't mention it, not wanting to ruin her day. Normally, saying I looked like Billy Joe Armstrong would be an ordinary compliment I'd receive. I'd had the same hair as him and somewhat the same fashion sense, but the comment before the comparison rubbed me wrong, and the part about my name even more so. I stopped the conversation there, and we didn't say anything else to each other until I dropped him off.
Thanks for the ride. Maybe I'll see you later.
He gave me this awkward wink before walking away, and Elle moved to the front seat. I don't fucking like him. He's nice. Once you get to know him, really, Elle replied. She seemed set on that, so I didn't push the topic more. Over the next few months, I had seen a lot more of Neckbeard. Enough to see that he was not the kind of guy I wanted around Elle, or anyone, really. He was perverted and degrading, and I absolutely despised him. But the encounter I'd like to talk about is what happened on Elle's birthday. She invited all of her friends, including Neckbeard. I'd gotten a hold of some alcohol through my friends where I live. It's illegal to drink underage with consent from parents, and I baked a cake. The whole house was decorated, and everything seemed to be going great. I stayed away from the group, letting Nell have her fun around with her friends, and drank by myself on the couch, making sure that nothing got too bad. I talked to one of mine and Nell's mutual friends. F hung out with me towards the middle, when I started to get drunk enough to act a bit out of character, but not enough to not remember what would happen. Dude, look. F motioned behind me. I looked where he suggested, only to see Neckbeard staring at me from where he sat with Elle and her friends. I looked away. You're all he talks about now, you know? He's got one hell of a crush on you. Oh, really? I've only had like 2 conversations with him. Yeah, it's crazy. It makes Elle hella weirded out. As if he could hear us talking about him, Neckbeard sat next to me on the couch, close enough to have our thighs touching. Hi guys. F. I think Elle is going to start a game of Uno. She wants you to join. F decided to join Elle, giving me a sympathetic look as he left me with Neckbeard. Good God, once we were alone, it started. His hands never left me. They were always on a part of me, whether it was my clothes or actual body parts. I never liked being touched much, so it creeped me out and put me on edge. At this point, though, I was too drunk to be able to do anything about it. Hey, Gerald, you seem to be close with F. Huh? Oh yeah, he's a good friend. His tone, from what I remember, was slightly off, as if he was angry at me. How have you been? You look good. It's been a while since I've seen your pretty face. I shifted away from him then. I remember not wanting to be anywhere near him as he said that. What made it worse was his hand was on my arm. I wanted to vomit. Thanks. Could you please not touch me?
Why? Are you gay?
That was a head spinner at the time. I wasn't out to a lot of people then. Only L, F, and some of my other friends. I asked how he knew that, and he said he saw L texting me about it once. I sighed. Aren't you dating L?
Yeah.
It's recent, and it's not like I'm not allowed to experiment. His hands moved to my thigh, and I attempted to shift away. But I drank a lot by that point that I wasn't anywhere near strong enough to move his 6-foot body with my 5'6" one. He moved to press into me more and grabbed my chin, forcing me to kiss him as I tried to wiggle away. It didn't work. He shifted to move on top of me, his knees pushed against my crotch. Just let it happen. I promise it'll feel fine. I started to have a panic attack as memories of past years came back from his actions, and I started to sob. I all but screamed at him to get off, called Elle's name, and started to thrash around. He seemed to get scared by my actions and jumped off. I don't remember what happened after that, as I was in the middle of a panic attack, but I was told he left, and L and F helped me up the stairs to my room. If you are new, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, as it really helps me out. And if you are already subscribed, welcome back and thank you for subscribing.